When my sister and I were born, the imperial seer declared twin princesses to be an ill omen. Thus, my sister was sent to the frontier to be raised by our uncle. The harsh cold of the frontier was unbearable, and during her escape from relentless martial training, she was captured by enemy forces and reduced to a lowly servant. Meanwhile, I lived in luxury, deeply favored by Father Emperor, and was even betrothed to the River Kingdom, destined to become their esteemed empress. Consumed by bitterness, my sister hid among the wedding procession and poisoned me to death. Yet, unexpectedly, we were reborn. This time, she was the first to draw the long bamboo slip, symbolizing the one who stays. Now, it's your turn to taste the suffering of the frontier. But little did she know, this seemingly glamorous palace was the true hell. From now on, your fates, twin princesses, are in your own hands. Everyone in the grand hall fixed their eyes on the two bamboo slips in the imperial seer's hands. One long, one short, they would decide which of us sisters remained in the palace, and who would endure the hardships of the frontier with our uncle. Serena Fong impatiently shoved me aside. I choose first. With that, she drew the one on the right. As expected, it was the long slip. Serena Fong clutched the bamboo slip in her hand like a lifeline, heaving a deep sigh of relief. Our mother was merely a low-ranking lady, with no voice to speak of in this imposing hall. Timid as she was, she couldn't help but tug at Serena Fong's sleeve. "Why are you so unruly today?" In her eyes, Serena Fong had always been sensible and obedient. She couldn't fathom why she'd act so impulsively today. She didn't see the gloating look Serena Fong shot my way, nor did she know we were both reborn. We were twins, yet the imperial seer declared twin princesses an ill omen, destined to bring misfortune upon the kingdom of Zhou after turning 12, unless only one twin remained, being imperial heirs. Father Emperor deliberated with his ministers for days and devised a solution. Send one princess to the frontier to be raised as a boy, thus deceiving the heavens. Serena Fong had always excelled at keeping up appearances. In her past life, to secure her stay, she dutifully attended to Father Emperor and Mother daily, and in the end, even feigned magnanimity as an elder sister, letting me choose first. Unexpectedly, I chose to remain. Reluctantly, she followed Uncle to the frontier, never imagining how harsh it would be. There were no fine clothes or delicacies. She endured wind and sun daily, and Uncle was exceedingly strict, making her practice horse stance and master blades and spears every day. Finally, Serena Fong could bear it no longer. She stole all of Uncle's silver and fled under cover of night, only to overestimate her sense of direction. Taking a wrong turn, she stumbled into the enemy camp and was captured immediately. To save her life, Serena had to reveal her identity and even betrayed Uncle by disclosing his border defense strategies. The enemy held her as a bargaining chip in negotiations with Uncle while keeping her as a plaything, subjecting her to relentless humiliation. Clinging to survival, she eventually found a chance to escape. Having betrayed the kingdom of Zhou, she dared not return, drifting until she infiltrated my wedding procession. By then, I had already gained renown throughout the kingdom of Zhou. Even 3-year-olds know that Princess Clara is peerless in elegance, excelling in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, deeply cherished by the emperor of the kingdom of Zhou. The River Kingdom, leader of the 5 nations, sought to marry her. I would become the most revered empress once wed. Compared to Serena Fong, it was like heaven and earth. No one remembered the other princess, suffering far away at the frontier. Serena Fong went mad. We shared the same bloodline, and she was even more favored by Father Emperor than I. Why did she end up like that, while I enjoyed boundless glory? Serena Fong poisoned me with a heart full of hatred. So, in this rebirth, she disregarded all rules and propriety, striving by any means to stay. As she wished, it was finally decided that I would go to the frontier with Uncle. Uncle, hardened by years of warfare, exuded an aura that kept others at bay. He had rushed back post, haste to fetch me, with matters settled. As we stepped out of the hall, he glanced at me with a hint of pity, as if wanting to pat my head, but withdrew his hand, mindful of its rough, callous skin. "Clara, you've had it tough." I smiled and gently took his hand. It's been 5 years since Uncle last returned to the capital for his official report. "Uncle, please tell me all about the interesting things in the Northwest Territories." As the day of my departure to the frontier drew near, Mother, worried about me, personally sewed clothes for me and held me close every night as we slept. Even my busy father emperor made time every day to talk with me, showing he was somewhat reluctant to let me go. Serena Fong saw all this but said nothing. Mother comforted her. "Serena, your sister is about to leave the palace, and we can't help but worry. We've neglected you these past few days." Serena Fong resumed her magnanimous and gentle demeanor. "I understand. I, too, am very reluctant to see my sister go. Only I knew she wasn't truly magnanimous. She simply didn't care anymore. This time, she would be Princess Serena, enjoying every luxury, and would even marry that promising young emperor of the River Kingdom. As for me, she couldn't wait to see what would become of me. She was certain that the harsh frontier would make me as miserable as she was in her past life. But she didn't know that this seemingly glamorous deep palace was the real hell. In the coming chaos of the world, military power is the true king in these troubled times. The Northwest Territories are indeed harsh to endure. After just 3 days here, my delicate skin began to chap. Uncle wanted me to stay in the tent and even tried to find someone to fetch charcoal for warmth, but I refused. "Uncle, this is the Northwest. It doesn't coddle pampered princesses. Since I've come, please stop treating me like a princess." Uncle looked at me deeply and said, "You must understand, even if you're not a princess, an ordinary woman wouldn't survive here." I nodded in response. "So I ask you, Uncle, to teach me martial arts and let me learn military strategy from you. From today onward, I am just an ordinary soldier here." Uncle paused, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He hadn't expected me to say the very words he had in mind. "Good," he exclaimed with joy. "As long as you wish to learn, I will teach you everything I know." Uncle is the commander of the Northwest Territories, known for his strict discipline in governing the army. Starting the next day, he demanded I rise at dawn to train alongside the soldiers for physical conditioning, learn basic spear techniques in the afternoons, and study his annotated military strategies at night. At first, I couldn't even hold a horse stance for long. The soldiers had orders not to treat me differently, so some deliberately targeted me during sparring sessions, beating me into a pitiful state. I understood. Uncle wanted me to learn that in the Northwest Territories, strength alone commands respect. So I trained relentlessly. Since I started from behind, I had to outwork everyone else. 3 years later, my body grew powerful, and my spear work turned sharp and fierce. During another spar, the one who'd always pin me to the ground was now the one begging for mercy. Beaten into the dirt, the youth named Liu Zhang, his arm twisted behind his back, gritted his teeth in pain, but still managed to grin. The general was right. You're ruthless with yourself, and even more ruthless with others. I released him, too indifferent to engage. Hurry up and get ready. We're joining the general for patrol. Uncle took us to see the northwest border, explaining that during this harsh winter, the river had frozen over, and the Chong, Rong troops were preoccupied with survival, unlikely to attack. Yet it suddenly struck me, around this time in my past life, the imperial court had received a military report. A severe cold snap had hit the northwest, thickening the river ice. The enemy had crossed the river on foot under cover of night, launching a surprise assault that caused heavy casualties in the northwest. Uncle, they lack food and warm clothing. They'll surely try to raid us. If the river is frozen solid, might they attempt a nighttime crossing and attack? Uncle's expression shifted abruptly. Check the ice thickness. Now, as I had predicted, the ice was thick enough for horses to traverse safely. Uncle deployed troops urgently, and that very night, we intercepted the ambushing enemy. It was my first time on the battlefield, and I fought with fierce exhilaration. The battle ended in a decisive victory. Father Emperor was overjoyed, and with the new year approaching, summoned uncle back to the capital to receive honors. In my past life, Serena Fong's first return to the capital after leaving had also occurred around this time. I couldn't help but wonder if she had finally attained the life of luxury and comfort she always desired within the palace walls. From the day I left the capital, the palace had proclaimed to the world that Princess Clara had suddenly succumbed to a vicious illness and passed away. From that moment on, Princess Clara ceased to exist in this world. Thus, for my return, I disguised myself as a man, traveling under the identity of my uncle's adopted son, a mere lieutenant. Father Emperor received us with beaming smiles, and after bestowing rewards for our merits, he asked me to stay behind alone. Clara, have these years been difficult for you? He reached for my hand, only to pause in surprise upon feeling how rougher they were than those of the palace maids who sweep the floors. I performed a courtier's bow. Though I cannot serve at your majesty's side, guarding the frontier in your stead is no hardship. Father Emperor was greatly pleased. Excellent, you shall be rewarded. He bestowed upon me the golden whip and granted me special permission to remain in the palace for a few days. I intended to visit Mother, but just as I entered the imperial garden, I unexpectedly encountered Serena Fong. Over the years, I had changed, and so had she. She was dressed in opulent palace robes, holding a hand warmer, her hair adorned with pearls and jade. As for me, I looked more like a refugee. Though we were twins, we no longer resembled each other much. Serena Fong covered her mouth with a light laugh. Sister, you must have suffered greatly these years. Your complexion is even worse than Peach's. Peach, her devoted maid, laughed along with her. I remained unmoved. You worry too much. Sister, I've been doing quite well, though the Northwest Territories are harsh. I could ride freely, made many friends, learned swordsmanship, and there I could control my own destiny. It was the truth, but Serena Fong didn't believe it. In her eyes, I must have been putting on a brave front. She was about to say more when a group of people rushed toward us, accompanied by a woman's sharp scolding. Fools, if my kite is lost, I'll have your worthless heads. It was our notoriously domineering eldest sister, Princess Anya, the Empress's only daughter. Dressed inconspicuously, I went unnoticed by her at first. She only saw Serena Fong. It's you. She looked down at her with a sidelong, condescending glance. Serena Fong bowed respectfully. Greetings, elder sister. Princess Anya's eyes shifted slyly as she ordered her attendants. No need to search for my kite. Let my sister fetch it. Serena, aren't you always so eager to please me? Serena's face instantly paled. She bit her lip hard, visibly humiliated. To be honest, I wasn't surprised. In her past life, Princess Anya had been the most untouchable person in the palace, bullying all her younger siblings under the Empress's protection. Serena didn't dare resist and could only grit her teeth and climb the tree to retrieve the kite. Unfortunately, the winter tree trunk was too slippery. She lost her balance and fell, tumbling straight into the water lily vat in a pitiful state. Ha ha ha, you're killing me, sister. You really know how to amuse me. As Princess Anya laughed, her servants obediently joined in. At that moment, my silence made me stand out conspicuously. Princess Anya's gaze fell upon me, finally recognizing, you've returned. My supposedly deceased sixth sister Jinghua. The palace announced my death to the outside world, but some within knew the truth. Princess Anya circled me with a scrutinizing look, full of disdain. You're still a princess. Yet look at you. What rag clothes are these? TSK, how many days has it been since you last bathed? As she belittled me, Serena Fong inexplicably grew cheerful, watching me with schadenfreude, anticipating my humiliation. Princess Anya had the same intention. Pointing at the kite still stuck in the tree, she said, your sister failed to retrieve it, so you go get it. The tree wasn't tall. Fetching the kite would have been effortless for me. But why should I? Are you sure? Princess Anya snapped impatiently. How dare you defy my command? I simply said, drew the golden whip just bestowed by Father Emperor, and with a fierce crack, lashed out, shredding the kite to pieces. The kite's frame landed right at Princess Anya's feet. There, retrieved for you." She was absolutely furious. "You wretch! Guards, seize her whip." The eunuchs swarmed forward. I didn't resist, letting them snatch my whip and burn it in the fire. "Serena," Fong stared at me in disbelief. I glanced sideways at her. "Is this the life you wanted?" Even drenched and disheveled, she stubbornly denied it. "Besides this, I've been living well." "Huh, Clara Fong, you don't dare oppose Princess Anya either, do you?" "Says who?" As they finished burning it and moved to punish me, I slapped my forehead, as if just remembering. I forgot to mention earlier, this whip was just bestowed upon me by Father Emperor, who said seeing it in the palace is like seeing him. Princess Anya, who had been about to shove the whip's remnants into my mouth. "What do we do now?" I smiled faintly at her. "You've burned our father." The incident of Princess Anya burning the imperial golden whip reached Father Emperor's attention. Of course, I was the one who made sure it did. I don't know how I offended elder sister, but without a word, she burned my whip. Kneeling before Father Emperor, I spoke one sentence after another. "It must be because I've been away from the capital for years, living in constant fear in the Northwest Territories, that I forgot the palace etiquette and offended elder sister. Uncle often taught that the self-inflicted injury strategy often yields remarkable results." As Princess Anya pointed at me, about to explain, I kowtowed again. If it were an ordinary whip, burning it would be one thing, but that was bestowed by Father Emperor. "I miss you day and night, and had planned to take the whip to the Northwest Territories, to look at it whenever I longed for you. Hearts are made of flesh." Father Emperor already felt guilty toward me, and, with these words, his remorse doubled. Princess Anya's face flushed red with anger. "Why didn't you say so at the time?" At her question, tears welled up in my eyes. "I did say so, sister, but no matter who bestowed the whip. Didn't elder sister burn it without hesitation?" Princess Anya wanted to say more, but suddenly came to her senses. I was accusing her of showing contempt for imperial favor and overstepping her bounds. She dropped to her knees with a thud and protested loudly. "Father Emperor, please see clearly. This wretch is slandering me, calling her wretch again and again. She is your sister." Father Emperor roared in anger. "Do you think this scandal isn't big enough already?" Then, with a complicated expression, he helped me up and sighed. "I truly have wronged you greatly," although he seemed to take my side. Princess Anya wasn't worried. She even threatened me fiercely before leaving. "We'll see about this." But she never expected the punishment this time to be so severe. Not only was she herself fined, but Father Emperor also ordered palace matrons to personally discipline her, forcing her to stand punishment for 3 hours daily. Even the Empress was implicated and publicly rebuked by the Emperor for failing to educate her daughter properly. Only after everything settled did I finally have time to visit Mother. She burst into tears the moment she saw me, clutching my hand and rambling on before hesitantly adding, "Clara, please help your mother persuade your sister." Only then did I learn that Serena Fong, having stayed in the palace, not only skipped lessons daily, but also repeatedly drove away tutors of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting with her antics. She often disguised herself in men's attire to roam the streets with those scions of noble families. I heard that many of these young men adored her. How utterly improper. Mother only confided this in me out of sheer helplessness. She couldn't understand why Serena Fong, as a princess, would stoop to such self-degrading behavior, but I knew exactly why. Because of the rumors about me in my past life, Princess Clara, peerless in elegance, would have noble youths following on horseback wherever she appeared, just to catch a glimpse of her. Serena Fong had to compete with me in everything, so she craved that same admiration from men. I truly can't fathom it. Is the affection of those wretched men really so precious? Even now, the memory of their gazes fills me with disgust. After losing face with me, Serena Fong immediately sought to fill her vanity with the adoration and flattery of others, while she was disguised as a man, galloping recklessly through the streets with those frivolous youths. I had just left my uncle's residence. I saw her clumsy horsemanship, yet those men were still cheering her on. Serena is truly unlike ordinary women. She continues to surprise us. Flattered by their praise, Serena became even more carried away. She actually charged straight toward a child frozen in the middle of the road, intending to leap over the child's head. Damn it, without a care for my feminine attire, I quickly veiled my face and delivered a swift kick, sending Serena flying off her horse. Then, I yanked hard on the reins, forcing the horse to swerve violently. How dare you? Do you have any idea who you just kicked? Serena Fong, come see me at the palace. I coldly left those words behind, ignoring Serena's venomous glare, and rode straight toward the palace gates. Serena was furious. What infuriated her even more was that, after I left, those men snapped out of it and asked her, "Is she also a maiden from the palace?" So strikingly heroic and spirited, Serena Fong jolted in shock. A chill crept up her spine, bringing an unprecedented sense of crisis. I've only been back for a few days, and Father Emperor has already reprimanded the ever-favored Princess Anya for my sake. Now, even without showing my face, these noble youths are drawn to me. If this continues, will Father Emperor keep me here and send her away instead? Recalling the suffering from her past life, Serena Fong trembled with fear. She hadn't yet made a name for herself in the capital, hadn't waited for the Emperor of the River Kingdom to seek her hand in marriage and become the most revered empress under heaven. How could she rest easy? To hasten her return to the frontier, Serena Fong took a desperate gamble and devised a scheme. The imperial seer claimed, the year Father Emperor ascended the throne, that military leaders would bring ruin to the nation. Hence the kingdom of Zhou now prioritizes scholars over warriors. While paying respects to Father Emperor, Serena Fong casually mentioned visiting uncle to greet him, noting that uncle seemed deeply dissatisfied with the military pay allocated by Father Emperor. That very day, citing that the frontier could not be left unattended, Father Emperor ordered uncle to return immediately, fearing he might forge alliances with court officials. That night, he secretly summoned me again, instructing me to closely monitor uncle after returning to the frontier and report immediately if he showed any signs of disloyalty. I calmly agreed without showing any emotion. Leaving the study, my blood rushed to my head in fury. I stormed straight into Serena Fong's room, dragged her inside, and shoved her into a water-filled lotus tub. Ah, Clara Fong, have you lost your mind? You seem feverishly delusional. Perhaps this will cool your head. When the nest is overturned, no egg remains unbroken. Uncle is my own flesh and blood, yet Serena Fong was once again pushing him towards certain death. Yes, she had done exactly this in my past life. Returning to the capital after 3 years, to secure her stay, she deliberately told Father Emperor that uncle harbored treasonous intentions. From then on, Father Emperor grew wary of the frontier generals, intentionally withholding funds and supplies, leading the kingdom of Zhou to repeated defeats. Later, when she was captured by the Chong, Rong tribes during her escape, she betrayed military secrets to save her own life, condemning tens of thousands of soldiers to die at the frontier. Serena Fong struggled free from my grip and let out a near, hysterical laugh. You're just embarrassed and angry, Clara Fong. I knew you wanted to stay and replace me. Let me tell you, the only one who gets to stay is me. How foolish. Watching her smug expression, I could only find it laughable. She couldn't endure the hardships of the frontier, and in this lifetime, she doesn't even want to suffer the rigors of the palace. But she doesn't know that in my past life, all my glory and success were earned through my own efforts. Princess Anya was also domineering in my previous life, yet I was never bullied, because she didn't dare. I rose earlier and retired later than everyone else each day. I ranked first in all my studies, excelling in every art from music to calligraphy. One year, a neighboring envoy visited and publicly presented a challenge, the first half of a melody that had stumped their nation for centuries, asking our princes and princesses to complete it. It stumped everyone momentarily, and the envoy grew even more arrogant in court, mocking our reputation as a land of rights and music. Father Emperor was deeply displeased. While others gave up, I alone persevered for 2 days and nights. astonishing everyone with a complete composition just before the envoy's departure. Overjoyed, Father Emperor held me in even higher esteem, showering me with a continuous stream of rewards. Were others jealous and envious? Absolutely, but did they dare to confront me? Of course not. It was all because Father Emperor valued me. I became his trophy for flaunting to outsiders. Whenever foreign envoys visited or grand state banquets were held, I always had a seat of honor right below him. Back then, I was the face of the kingdom of Zhou. I was ruthless with myself, which made me a kind princess. This irreplaceability became the foundation for Mother and me to survive safely within the depths of the palace. It's the same in this life. Princess Anya has always been doted on by Father Emperor. If I were just a princess, a dispute between sisters wouldn't cause much of a stir. But this time I returned to receive rewards in my capacity as a lieutenant. What I represent are the soldiers enduring hardships on the frontier in the Northwest Territories. If I were treated poorly in the capital, word would get back, and it might dishearten the troops. No matter who I am, I must have my own value. It's a pity Serena Fong never understood this. She only knew that in my previous life, I stayed in the palace, admired by noble sons, and deeply favored by Father Emperor. She mistakenly believed these two events were causally linked. Just like now, she leaned close to my ear and declared with conviction, "Let me tell you a secret. One day, I'll marry the Emperor of the River Kingdom and become the most noble empress in the world. As for you, just wait to die in that bitter, frozen land." I curved my lips slightly. It seems she heard many tales about my love story with the River Kingdom's emperor in her past life. How I saved him from assassins during the Qixi festival. How he fell for me at first sight and vowed to marry no one else. Unfortunately, all of it was fabricated. Truthfully, I could have warned Serena Fong to turn back from her misguided path. But why should I? We've both lived 2 lifetimes, each walking our own road. That seems fair. Besides, Serena Fong resents me, and I harbor equal hatred for her. In my previous life, through sheer effort, I reached the highest position attainable for a woman. I had hoped to use my capabilities to make Father Emperor abandon the marriage arrangement, allowing me to enter the court as a woman and set a precedent for all females under heaven. But because of Serena Fong, the frontier suffered a crushing defeat, and the Rong troops marched south unimpeded. To protect himself, Father Emperor sought aid from the River Kingdom, whose conditions were our dynasty's submission, 10 million taels of gold, and my hand in marriage. All the skills I've learned in the first half of my life will end here, never to see the light of day again. What Serena Fong severed was not just my path, but the path of all women in the realm. Even in this second life, she remains the same. Why should I save her? Passing through the border between Zhou and the River Kingdom on my way to the Northwest Territories, I heard locals say the Emperor of the River Kingdom plans to tour the 4 nations, with the Kingdom of Zhou as his first stop. They also say this journey is specifically to select an empress. This news will soon reach the Kingdom of Zhou, and Serena Fong is bound to make major moves. On the road, I relayed every word Father Emperor said to me to Uncle. He remained silent for a long time after hearing it. "Your Majesty distresses me to this extent. After guarding the frontier faithfully for so many years, all he reaped was the Emperor's suspicion. How could his heart not turn cold?" I sat atop my horse, expression calm. "Since they all accuse us of disloyalty, why not make it true?" Uncle was shocked, cautiously glancing around. "Mind your words in the capital." He was quite taken aback that I could utter such treasonous words. But ever since the day I was reborn, I've made up my mind. I want troops. I want power. Having finally escaped the deep palace that confined me, I'll naturally strive with all my might to soar higher. Don't worry, Uncle. Our people surround us, and the Northwest Territories are our domain. Since Father Emperor intends to suppress us through funds and provisions, let's use the military routes for trade and buy grain with the profits. Of course, the most urgent task now is to drive those Rong tribes back to their homeland. I faced the rising sun, my gaze blazing with determination. Uncle watched me out of the corner of his eye for a long time before finally bursting into hearty laughter. I am at your service, my liege. The campaign to drive out the Chong Rome lasted the entire spring. We pushed them from the border towns to the Yellow River, and from the Yellow River back to the grasslands. Just before early summer, they launched a desperate counterattack. I stood atop the cliff and ordered the soldiers to scatter poison-soaked willow catkins down upon them. Riding the east wind, we annihilated their troops without losing a single soldier. Yet the battle report sent back read, "The Chong Rome tribes put up a stubborn resistance. Our forces are still driving them out." We needed time to grow our own army. Just then, a message arrived from Uncle's informant in the capital. The Emperor of the River Kingdom intended to choose a princess from the Kingdom of Zhou to marry as his empress, and the final candidate selected was Serena Fong. By status and rank, the first choice should have been Princess Anya, but the day before the state banquet, Princess Anya accidentally fell into a pond, her face cut by thin ice, leaving her disfigured. It was said that the only one with her at the time was Serena Fong. Serena Fong is truly ruthless. She'd rather make an enemy of the Empress and put Mother in danger to secure her own future. But she doesn't realize that placing hope in a man is the most foolish choice. I have no time to deal with her now. I'm busy raising funds, securing provisions, and building up my forces. Another summer passed, and Mother sent a letter to the Northwest Territories, pleading with Uncle and me to find a way to save Serena Fong. She would rather die than marry into the River Kingdom now. Reading the letter, I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Well, she's finally realized something's wrong. The River Kingdom leads the 5 nations with its formidable military strength. When an emperor seeks an empress, wouldn't other countries be scrambling to offer candidates? Why would the emperor personally come to choose? Because their emperor is sick, mentally ill. He's notoriously cruel, delighting in tormenting others, and even has a cannibalistic fetish. In his 7-year reign, he's taken 5 empresses. None survived beyond a month. Eventually, no officials in his kingdom were willing to send their daughters to the palace. Someone, somehow, suggested to the River Emperor that women of royal blood are the most tender and delightful, so the emperor travels the nations himself, seeking the most delicious empress. Though the River Kingdom tried to suppress this news, it's hardly a secret. Serena Fong likely wanted to learn about her future husband to please him. Little did she expect to uncover such a horrifying truth. Now she refuses to marry him at any cost. But the Empress insisted that, for the sake of diplomatic relations between the 2 nations, even if she were to die, it must be in the River Kingdom. Princess Anya had been disfigured by Serena Fong, and the Empress harbored a deep-seated hatred for her, eagerly awaiting her downfall. Mother begged me to save her. But how could I? Wasn't this the path she chose for herself? I intended to stand by indifferently.
But I underestimated the depths of Serena Fong's depravity.
Seeing no way out, she gritted her teeth and drugged the Prime Minister's son at the farewell banquet held in her honor at the palace. The Prime Minister's son, already known for his lecherous nature, succumbed to temptation and ended up in bed with her. That day, the scandalous scene was witnessed by many. Father Emperor was so enraged that he ordered the execution of all the palace servants who had seen it. Serena Fong knelt on the ground, pleading innocence, claiming the Prime Minister's son had taken advantage of her while drunk, but her virtue was already lost. If she were to marry into the River Kingdom in such a state, the River Emperor would surely be furious and might even declare war on the Kingdom of Zhou. If that happened, with the River Kingdom and the Chong Rome tribes attacking simultaneously, the Kingdom of Zhou would be in grave danger. At this point, there was only one solution left. That was to have me, who looks exactly like Serena Fong, take her place in the marriage. Father Emperor barely hesitated before drafting a secret decree ordering me to return to the capital immediately to prepare for the wedding. Relieved of their urgent crisis, they were overjoyed, completely oblivious that my marriage would also lead to certain death. But they didn't know that the Chong Rome tribe's threat had now been resolved. and I was no longer someone to be pushed around. Uncle was so furious upon hearing the news that he kicked over a table. They're disregarding your life, making you a substitute bride. Jinghua, we won't wait any longer. Let's gather our troops and return immediately. I'd like to see who dares to make you marry. But I laughed heartily. Marry? Of course I'll marry. Uncle was utterly confused. I smiled while looking at the map of the kingdom of Zhou. Uncle, now that we have the troops, do you know what we're still missing? Uncle paused for a moment before suddenly understanding. It's the people's hearts. Exactly. My marriage for the nation's sake is an act of great righteousness. With Serena Fong as a contrast, we'll win the hearts of both the court officials and the common people. Besides, I'm not going back just to die. After discussing with Uncle all night, we rode back to the capital with elite cavalry the next day. Father Emperor had been so enraged by Serena Fong that he suffered from fluctuating health due to sudden bouts of anger affecting his heart. Hearing mine and Uncle's plan, he was so frightened he couldn't stop coughing. You want the army to disguise themselves as a wedding procession and attack their imperial city once inside the River Kingdom's territory? He exclaimed in shock. No, if this fails, wouldn't the kingdom of Zhou be in grave danger? The imperial seer, also timid and fearful, hurriedly objected. This is absolutely unacceptable. Last night, I observed the celestial signs. If the princess marries into their family, the kingdom of Zhou will enjoy decades of favorable weather and peace. Why resort to war? I looked at him coldly. As long as the River Kingdom exists, the kingdom of Zhou will never know true peace. Your Majesty, reconsider. The imperial seer kept shouting. I have divined the fate of the kingdom of Zhou if we start this war. Before he could finish, I slit his throat with my blade. Blood splattered across my face, but I wiped my knife expressionlessly. So tiresome. 5 years ago, he used some divination nonsense to casually decide my fate, and now he wants to use the same rhetoric to send me to my death. But I don't believe in heaven's will. I only believe in myself. Whoever stands in my way can die first. Father Emperor had never witnessed such a bloody scene and was too terrified to utter a word. I bowed respectfully toward him and said, Your Majesty, please issue the decree at once. The bridal procession must be grand and magnificent. He turned pale and stammered, I need to think. But I smiled gracefully and replied, Father, you misunderstand. This is not a request. News of my impending marriage to the River Kingdom soon spread, with rumors of bridal red stretching for miles and countless palace attendants in the procession. For a time, everyone said Princess Serena was deeply favored by the emperor. As for the real Serena, after what she did and earning the empress's hatred, Father Emperor sparing her life was already an act of mercy. The only option left was to arrange a marriage with the Prime Minister's household. But the Prime Minister's family was unwilling. After all, Serena no longer held her royal title and could never appear in public again for the rest of her life. The Prime Minister's household does not need a principal wife hidden away in the inner chambers. They only agreed to take her as a concubine. Even so, Serena Fong believed she had won. On the day she left the palace, I was inside, trying on my wedding dress, adorned with jewels and pearls, a picture of opulence. Serena Fong deliberately took a detour to see me. She looked me up and down, her gaze as if staring at a corpse. My dear sister, cherish this time while you can. Everything you have now was given to you by my mercy. Though I may be in disgrace, at least I will live. I watched her without a flicker of emotion. My foolish sister, while we are contending for the world, you are still amusing yourself? Never mind. Ignorance can sometimes be a blessing. Before the wedding, my uncle paid off hundreds of storytellers to spread tales in tea houses and taverns of how the kingdom of Zhou was beset by enemies on all sides, and how Princess Serena selflessly volunteered for a political marriage to save the kingdom from peril. For a time, everyone sang her praises. On the day, I left the city in my red wedding dress. The common people knelt in 2 neat rows. They shouted in unison, The princess is righteous. We bid you farewell, Your Highness, and wish you boundless blessings. I journeyed far amid their blessings. The palace attendants escorting me were elite forces from the Northwest Territories. Hidden among the thousands of dowry chests were blades and weapons, and Uncle, leading tens of thousands of troops, awaited me at the border between Zhou and the River Kingdom to coordinate our attack from within and without. A smile graced my lips as I held my head high and chest out. This felt less like a bridal procession and more like a grand road to my coronation. It was originally agreed that the River Kingdom would send royal relatives to greet the bride, but I never expected their emperor to come in person, perhaps overconfident in his military strength and on his own turf. He brought few soldiers with him. Let this emperor see what kind of beauty his empress is. As he helped me dismount, our palms touched, and he sensed something amiss. How can a princess have such rough hands? But it was too late. With a flip of my palm, a sharp blade was already at his throat. If they weren't rough, how could I grip a blade? At my command, the wedding procession instantly transformed into an elite force, while the thunder of hooves in the distance signaled the approach of what seemed like a vast army. Even with his life in my hands, the Emperor of the River Kingdom showed little panic. He laughed. "You have courage. But how could your tiny state of Zhou ever hope to shake the foundations of my kingdom? What if 3 kingdoms join forces?" The emperor's face paled dramatically. The River Kingdom had long bullied others with impunity, breeding resentment among neighboring states, though not yet to the breaking point. Until now, when he set his sights on their princesses. I was chosen this time, but whose princess would be next? Uncle's trusted aide, Liu Zhang, took my seal to the state of Chun and the state of Yang to lay out the stakes. Both kingdoms had scarce royal heirs, each cherishing their only princess like a treasure. Liu Zhang persuaded them to deploy troops in my name. Now besieged by 3 kingdoms, the River Kingdom faced peril. I shed the cumbersome wedding robes for cold, hard armor, and, as vanguard, captured the River Kingdom's first border city, then the second, the third. 5 months of relentless advance. The vast River Kingdom was nearly carved up entirely. I had intended to seize more territory, but word suddenly came from the capital. Father Emperor was gravely ill. The Empress had confined him to force him to pass the throne to her son. What? I've been toiling on the battlefield, and you're stealing my credit? How can this be? Without another word, I led my troops back and swiftly dealt with those petty minions. When Father Emperor saw me, he nearly wept. "Jinghua, you've returned." I clasped his hand, playing out a heartfelt father-daughter reunion. "Do not fret, Father Emperor. Your health comes first. My time is near. Jinghua, I worry for the kingdom of Zhou. What do you think of your eldest brother?" I feigned contemplation. "Eldest brother lacks wisdom and is unfit to rule." Father Emperor paused, taken aback. What of the second? Too unruly to bear such responsibility. Then the 5th, still too young. A difficult choice. Before Father Emperor could speak again, I smiled and cut him off. "Father Emperor is in good health. Why rush to appoint a crown prince so soon? No need to hurry. Your daughter has returned, so you should be at ease." But Father Emperor was not at ease, because he went from being confined by the Empress to being confined by me. In practice, there was little difference. I left external affairs to Uncle to handle, only involving myself in key decisions. For a time, life in the palace became surprisingly leisurely. Every mid-autumn festival, the palace hosts a grand banquet for court officials. But this year, with the emperor gravely ill and the empress under my house arrest, the inner court was unsure whether to proceed and came to seek my instruction. Proceed, not only proceed, but make it lively and grand. With the River Kingdom fallen, this is a cause for great celebration. Upon my command, the inner court immediately set to work. Worried mother might grow bored in the palace. I asked her to help oversee the preparations. Yet, to my surprise, mother grew increasingly anxious day by day. "Jinghua, is it you who ordered guards to be posted around Father Emperor's chambers day and night?" I pretended not to hear and served her a dish. "Try this, a specialty from the Northwest Territories. I made it myself." But she grasped my hand. "You now have the merit of saving His Majesty. In the future, he will surely find you a good match, so you won't have to return to that harsh land in the northwest. Jinghua, what more could you possibly want? Mother, you've never understood me. I lower my gaze to her hand, rubbing the thick calluses on my own palm. You look at my hands and assume no young woman would want hers to end up like this. You see it as hardship, but I regard it as an honor. You think finding a good match is a reward. But to me, it's no different from breaking my limbs and imprisoning me until death. What I want is for no one to dare criticize me, for no one to control my fate. I want true freedom. Mother looked utterly shocked. Since ancient times, what woman hasn't relied on a man? That's exactly why the old rules need to change. I wiped my hands slowly, my tone as calm as if we were chatting about everyday matters. Just like when I was a child, if I were to reign, the court would be led by the capable, regardless of gender. I spoke my mind just like that. Mother was so startled, she dropped her bowl and chopsticks. Jinghua, don't do anything foolish. I called for someone to clean up the porcelain shards and took Mother up onto the city wall. Since entering the palace, she had been confined day and night to a small courtyard, never having stood this high before. I wanted to tell her that most women's sights are narrow, focused only on their husbands and children, but our vision can be far-reaching, extending to the nation and the world. Mother, the victors are never wrong. In the end, Mother tightened her grip on my hand and stood by my side. She said, I have only one request. Spare your sister. If Serena Fong behaves herself from now on, I could treat her as nothing more than air. But the problem is, with her temperament, how could she ever give up? It wasn't until she married into the Prime Minister's residence that Serena Fong finally realized how gravely mistaken she had been. She entered the household through deceitful means. Without her princess status, she couldn't even enter the palace gates. With no maternal family to rely on, others looked down on her even more. Serena Fong knew the only thing she could do now was to cling tightly to her husband. At least she still had her beauty. Captivating a fool wouldn't be a problem, giving her some security for the rest of her life. But how would Princess Anya, with her ruined face, ever let things rest? She gathered a group of beautiful maids and sent them all to the Prime Minister's residence. Those maids were well trained, far more skilled in tricks than Serena Fong. Before long, she was cast aside, confined to a small courtyard in the Prime Minister's residence for months, with no one bringing her news. She likely didn't even know I had returned alive. Now that the Prime Minister sees how the situation has shifted, he wants to curry favor with me as a senior official. He knows about my relationship with Serena Fong and thought I still care about sisterly bonds. So he brought her to the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. Even now, Serena Fong still believes it was Father Emperor who remembered her and wanted to rescue her from her misery. She was determined to show filial devotion before Father Emperor, but unexpectedly encountered me outside his palace. She had grown much thinner, with dark circles under her eyes, staring at me as if seeing a ghost. Clara Fong, you're not dead? How is this possible? Weren't you married off to the River Kingdom? I simply smiled at her. Are you surprised that I'm still alive? You must have escaped back on your own. She scrutinized me nervously, muttering, I'll tell Father Emperor and have him send you back. How could you return alive? How could you? It's not that I couldn't return alive. I just couldn't live better than her. For 2 lifetimes, she has lived in my shadow. Serena Fong was beginning to show signs of madness. As she was about to have someone announce her, Princess Anya spotted her from inside. Serena immediately cowered like a mouse seeing a cat, too frightened to lift her head. Princess Anya's face still bore faint scars. She cast a disgusted glance at her before bowing respectfully to me and saying, Sister, Father Emperor has taken his medicine today and is in stable condition. Good. She knows her place. Understanding who truly rules the palace now. Witnessing this scene, Serena Fong froze in place, her face turning deathly pale. When Mother came to see me days later, I had an ominous premonition. Sure enough, she joyfully said Serena Fong had realized her past mistakes and repented, wishing to reconcile and live harmoniously with me from now on. She wanted to share a meal with me, perhaps out of a sliver of hope. or maybe to see what trick she had up her sleeve. I agreed. That evening, Mother personally cooked a table full of dishes, all our childhood favorites. Serena Fong seemed suddenly normal, tears welling in her eyes as she looked at me. Sister, I now wish to spend the rest of my life with Mother, and hope you can forgive my past wrongdoings. I watched her quietly and gave a slight nod. Serena Fong immediately brightened up, taking my hand as she said, "Do you remember how we often bathed together as children? Those were such happy times. You must be tired today. Let your elder sister help wash you." I continued to watch her. Serena Fong guiltily averted her gaze. "Oh, my foolish sister. If you're going to scheme, at least hide the malice in your eyes." I didn't expose her and went along with bathing together as she wished. Under the pretense of scrubbing my back, she examined every inch of my skin, every scar, every mole. She memorized them all. Finally, she said she would enter the prayer hall to pray for Father Emperor and Mother's well-being and would visit me again at the start of next month. Mother was delighted. As I looked at Mother's face, my heart grew colder than the deepest winter ice of the Northwest Territories. After that, I went to see Father Emperor once more. His illness had grown severe, but I insisted the physicians refrain from strong treatments, claiming his body was too weak to endure them. So with one delay after another, he now lies in bed gaunt and frail. Even speaking is a struggle. I sat down beside him, my tone indifferent. "Father Emperor, are you still unwilling to write the abdication edict for me?" He rolled his eyes to look at me, the muscles on his face twitching slightly, as if cursing my treasonous audacity. "But Father Emperor, if you don't pass it to me, who else can you pass it to? Those good for nothings? You ruled weakly, couldn't even protect your own daughter, and those incompetents you raised are utterly useless. What good are they?" I placed my hand over his, feeling his slight tremble. "Father Emperor, time is running out for you." After a long while, he laboriously spat out a word. "Good. Has Father Emperor come to his senses? The edict you want, I'll give it to you. It's good that Father Emperor thinks this way. The weather has been pleasant lately. I'll take you to the sanctuary of Putua for a stroll tomorrow. With the Buddha's blessing, your illness is sure to improve." The sanctuary of Putua is the temple where Serena Fong goes to pray. Knowing I was there, she couldn't wait to see me. I thought she must have already found a way to forge an identical scar. By killing me, she could take my place. I sent word to her that I would be waiting in the meditation chamber. I then settled Father Emperor there, considerately tucking him in, and pretended not to notice the knife in his hand as I left. It was all over. The 25th year of Qingyuan. The emperor of the kingdom of Zhou died at the sanctuary of Puta, perishing together with the assassin. Learning I was fast asleep, Serena Fong plunged the knife into the bedding without hesitation, her expression frenzied. "It's all mine. Everything of yours will be mine." But my father, who had been feigning weakness, struggled to rise and drove the blade into her chest, cursing as he did, "Descend to hell with your father. The kingdom of Zhou will never fall into a woman's hands." At that moment, I stood outside the door, listening to the commotion within, unmoved. Uncle stood by my side, guarding the entrance for me. Was I too cruel? Uncle sighed. "You gave them chances, Jinghua, to be an emperor. You're not even ruthless enough. But I have nothing left. I lost my name. I lost my family bonds. The ones closest to me are all scheming to harm me." When Mother learned of Serena Fong's death, she was heartbroken and certain that I couldn't tolerate her and had her killed. Not entirely wrong, though. She said she never wanted to see me again, so she shaved her head and became a nun. But Mother, I was long prepared. From the moment I was reborn, I knew the path of an emperor is paved with blood. I need no kinship, and even less a weakness. This solitude atop boundless realms, I can bear it. In the winter of the 25th year of Qingyuan, Empress Regnant Serena Fong ascended the throne, changing the nation's name to the Kingdom of Joy. Historians recorded that since her reign, the Kingdom of Joy flourished, continuously expanded its territories, became the foremost among the four nations, and none dared invade again. The Empress Regnant valued both civil and military talents. revitalizing imperial exams and initiating martial contests. Women, too, could enter the examinations, with possibilities to become nobles or ministers. For a time, talents from across the land flocked to the court of Joy. Excellent,